about the national education policy and leadership. Before beginning the session, I request Mr. Raj Bharat, Regional Chair for YI, to give a formal welcome address. Over to you, Mr. Raj Bharat.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. First of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Bhimarai Mitri from IIM Trichy. Welcome, sir. Welcome aboard. Dilip, YI National Chair for UA. Welcome, Dilip. Welcome to the session. And of course, I should thank Ketan and Kaveri for having this session, and of course Yamini. I welcome all the students and members of YI across the country who are here today to listen to Mr. Mitri about, of course, NEP, and also about the opportunities that lie ahead of us in terms of our careers. I understand that we are going through a one-of-a-kind situation today, but yesterday, on behalf of YI Southern Region, I was part of CII's Southern Region Council meeting where there were many industry heads, and one Mr. Dr. K. Narayanan, who was also a principal advisor for the Prime Minister in the past, had told, saying that you know, in spite of all these tough situations, India can come out in a very bright way. And I was particularly very happy when he said, saying that Tamil Nadu is at a very good a position right now, because we are already known to be industry experts. We have n number of industries in Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu is also going to be very soon going to be becoming the hub for SaaS products, which is software as a service products. While we know that Karnataka, Bengaluru is the IT hub of India, exporting products across the world, Tamil Nadu could possibly be a SaaS products hub. Zoho and Freshworks being unicorn, both have become unicorn organizations. They both started their journey here in Chennai. So it is a tough situation, no doubt about it, but I think the faster we pull up our socks and face the situation, the better position that we would be in. This is the same as what industry leaders are speaking. I think there is tremendous opportunities that lie for students ahead. I think it is just about knowing what need to be done and what kind of a knowledge that we need to have to face these difficulties. I think we have got a very, very fine gentleman with us today to actually talk about where our education policy and how it can drive young minds to probably collaborate with industry, and then see to that the country leads in what we want to do for tomorrow. So this is all from my side. I think no doubt the session is going to be fantastic, and I'm very eagerly waiting to listen to Dr. Bhimaraya about NEP and career opportunities for students in the near future. Ketan, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Raj. Yamini, kindly you can, please proceed. Yeah, go ahead, Yamini.
I now request Mr. Dilip Krishna, National Yuva Chair.
First of all, respected Dr. Bhimaraya Mitri, sir, it's a real pleasure having you with us today, addressing our students. I think it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity. Like Raj was speaking about, yes, there is a huge opportunity in front of us, but to make the best of the opportunity, we need to prepare the youth of our country. I think that's where YI and UA is committed towards it, So I'm just going to take the next 3 to 4 minutes to brief you about what UA is all about. As you all know, we are YI. The vision of YI is to YI should become a movement for Indian youth to converge, lead, co-create, and influence India's future. And that's the vision what we are working towards. Why I'm starting with this vision statement is that there are two key words which is very important in this vision statement. One is the movement. The second is the youth, Indian youth. Because whatever we do in YI works towards nation building, YI works towards youth leadership, and YI works towards becoming a thought leadership. And whatever we do in YI, we want to make it a movement. And if we need to make any of these initiatives a movement, it is only in the hands of the youth of our country. And YI believes in it, and that's why we always say Yuva and the students students are going to be the future. And if we need to make these initiatives a movement in our country, it is in the hands of the youth of our country. And that's why we always say Yuva is the lifeline of YI. And the core objective of Yuva is how do we develop youth leadership? How do we develop responsible youth for our nation? And third, how do we create a platform to hear the voice of the young Indians? So if you guys want to voice out what is that you are looking for the future of the country, YI is the platform. And that is what we strive to work towards, because how do we make this happen? We believe that leadership or developing responsible youth cannot happen just inside classrooms. Colleges and institutions are giving a lot of knowledge. YI gives you the opportunity to put that knowledge into action. And when the youth of our country go back and implement the nation building projects, and while implementing the nation building projects within their institution, within their society, and that is how you develop to become responsible youth for the nation. Second, when you deliver these nation building projects towards becoming a movement, and that's where you learn leadership. Because implementing any projects involves strategizing, it involves planning, it involves teamwork, it involves ownership, it involves accountability, and that is what YI will groom you for. And YI will practically groom you to make all these things happen. And that is why we say with lots of pride saying that YI is the organization which can develop leadership for the future of our country. And I'm not going to take much of time because you have a extraordinary personality to address you all, but I'm going to leave you all with two thoughts. One, as students, if today we are 3,750 entrepreneurs as YI members across 51 chapters. If you pick up the phone call and speak to any of the YI member and ask them, what has YI done to you in your life? They will say only one word: it has impacted our leadership. Which means you guys are going to start it early. And you guys are starting the journey when you're in the college. That means you guys are starting early, and that's what YI is going to do. It is going to impact your leadership, certainly. It is going to prepare you as better leaders to seize the opportunity what Raj is talking about. There is a huge opportunity in front of us, and how can you prepare yourself to become better leaders to make use of the opportunity is what YI is all about. So we just not focus on that. How do we even sharpen your axe? That's why we get personalities like doctor here to come and give you the knowledge. In fact, YI in the last 4 months has done 330 plus events for students alone, which is averaging out to 2 events per day. And these events are delivered by visionary leaders, subject matter experts, cabinet ministers, bureaucrats, inspirational speakers, more spiritual leaders like Sadhguru. We have had a wide range of people coming and talking to us, youth of our country, with the core objective of how do we develop youth leadership. So guys, you're part of a phenomenal organization which is going to sharpen your leadership skills, and take pride to being a part of YI, because YI is the organization which is founded for the Indians, by the Indians, and of the Indians. So with that note, I thank you so much, Team Trichy, for giving this opportunity, and warm welcome to everyone to look forward to be all of you being part of YI and making a significant difference to our country and changing the future of our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dilip Krishna, for the clear introduction about YUVA and its activities. I now request Mr. Ketan Vora, YI Trichy Chair, to give an introduction about our speaker, Mr. Bhimaraya Maitri.
Thanks, Yamini. Good evening, everyone. I deem it as my privilege and honor to introduce Dr. Bhimaraya Maitri, sir, Director, IIM Trichy, who's a distinguished academician, renowned teacher, notable researcher, and an astute administrator. An outstanding leader of management education, he has performed key leadership roles at many premier management institutes and corporate in his remarkable career. Under his dynamic leadership, IIM Trichy has attained a position among the league of top business schools in India. IIM Trichy has attained a position among one of the top D schools in our country. He has also contributed immensely as the Dean and at L&T Institute of Project Management, Baroda, IMI New Delhi, MDI Gurgaon, and leading research programs at BITS Pilani. A renowned expert in the area of project management, infrastructure and smart cities management, quality management and supply chain management, he has numerous research articles and books to his credit, apart from being on the editorial advisory boards of several national and international journals. Currently, Mr. Maitri sir is the member of Indian National Commission for Cooperation with UNESCO under the chairmanship of Shri Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, Honorable Minister of Human Resource and Development, HRD. He is also the panel of experts for mentoring the Institutes of Eminence and also the chairman, All India Board of Management Studies, AICTE, New Delhi. I think the profile is pretty exhaustive one, so I'm extremely sorry I need to cut it short, sir. And just to throw some more light, Maitri sir has widely traveled all over the world across 4 continents and 29 countries. He has visited a large number of business schools and universities in these countries and has led successful national and international accreditation and re-accreditation programs, led a curriculum review committee that undertook a major overhaul of the PGDM programs, introduced the International Week, first of its kind at IIM Trichy. He has been instrumental in enhancement of physical and intellectual infrastructure and increased the strength of PGDM programs for successfully positioning MDI Gurgaon, IMI Delhi and IIM Trichy among the leading business schools of the country. For such illustrious contributions to the society, he has been bestowed with several prestigious awards and recognitions, like being awarded with the country's prestigious AIMA Keval Doria Award for Academic Leadership in Management Education, Distinguished Services Award by Asia Pacific Decision Science Institute, Top Director Award, and Distinguished Alumnus Award, Prerna Puraskar. Top Rankers Excellence Award for Outstanding Academy Leadership by Top Rankers Management Club, New Delhi. Under his able leadership, IIM Trichy was awarded the HEF Leadership and Innovation Award for the year 2020 under the category of Business School way back in March 2020. Dr. Maitri sir received his PhD from IIT Powai, Mumbai. Dr. Maitri sir is the member of Decision Science Institute US and Institute of Supply Management USA. Sir, we are thrilled and we are deeply honored to have you with us here today. And may I now request Maitri sir to give his special address on the topic NEP 2020 Gold Standard for Students, Future Leaders of India. Sir, I request you kindly to please address the students, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ketanji. First of all, I thanks the young Indians for organizing a very, very relevant and pertinent topic. I thanks for the invitation. First of all, I begin with Ketan Voraji, Dilip, Pradeep, Raj, Bharat, Yamini, and all distinguished members of the Young Indians and all the distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. To begin with a very interesting topic, NEP 2020 Gold Standard for Students, Future Leader of India. And all of you know that young Indians, as Dilip rightly said, they are the future leader of the country, and to prepare them as a great leaders of the nation to take India as a #1 position at globally, this kind of events are extremely important. And the young Indian doing a very, very great noble service to the nation to building the great minds of the country. So this NEP 2020, before going to NEP 2020, let us build a context of what is happening in the corporate world. Because finally, the product of education industry goes to a corporate, NGO, government in different sectors. But if you recall a profound statement of a great leader, Nelson Mandela, he said, education is the most powerful weapon which can change the world. And that is where we are all talking about NEP 2020, or we are all talking about education. So that is why education can change every sector and every aspect of any country. And that is where we are talking about the context of business. Today, if you look at the business, we have many beautiful words to say. One, we very oftenly use, it is a VUCA word. The another important term we use, a disruptive world. Third, we use a digital world. Fourth, we call about Industry 4.0. Now, the most profound, I can say, another one is we are marching from industrial era to intelligence era. It means industrial era to intelligence era. Both are I. But industrial era, where you can touch, you can feel, you can see. That kind of era we have seen last more than 200 years. Right from end of the 17th century to till now, manufacturing was the major one. Industry means manufacturing, physical touch and feel. You can see the size, bigger the size and bigger the industry and bigger the person. That kind of image was there in industrial era. The size of the company used to matter a lot. And that was the industrial era, which began after agriculture era. Now, from industrial era, now we are marching towards intelligence era. In intelligence era, size doesn't matter. Speed matters. Speed is more important than the size of the company. All of you have seen, look at Marriott Hotel, all the big 5-star hotels, Airbnb, which is invisible. It doesn't have a single square feet of building for its own, but it is the biggest hotel industry. Look at the General Motors and Toyota. They are the big manufacturing industry. More than centuries they are working, and as a leaders, a Tesla and Google, they are bringing a driverless cars, and these industries are facing a huge challenge from Tesla and the Google. These are just 15 to 20-year-old companies are challenging 110-year-old companies. So that is why now the size has no matter. A speed is how fast you capture the change, how fast you lead the change, how fast you think ahead of the time, how fast you look into the unknown job. This is what the era we are entering, which you can't touch, which you can't feel, but definitely you can get the result. Let me give a best example of Singapore Bank. There is a bank in Singapore. Physically, you can't go and see in any road that bank. It is not available physically. Bank is not exist. There is no address. You know, that street, that road, it is not at all there. But each and every Singaporean, you will get the best result out of the bank. They are extremely happy with the bank. It is a totally a digital bank. It is not a physical bank, it is a digital bank. And today's era is physical and digital. We are entered into phygital era. We may be physical, but the results coming out of the invisible, intangible kind of entity,
எனக்கு
and
Zoom appல வருதுடி.
we are getting the best result. So this is how industrial era we are marching to intelligence era, which is the digital world. And this digital world is very much, relevant to our young Indians, because all young Indians, these Yuvas are born in the era of digital world. All of you are natives of the digital world. When you born, internet was there. When you born, computer was there, laptop was there, pen drive was there. All social media started when you were very young children. But if you look at me, when I born, no computers and no internet, no connecting the dot. It was only physical kind of things. Now you are in the digital world. So that is why in digital world, and you are the natives of the digital world, so it is very apt and very relevant, and you are the fast learner than the generation I belongs to. So that there is a word called reverse learning. Today time has come, we have to learn from younger generation. Look at me, I listen to my parents, elders, and today I am listening to my children, youngers. So my generation is listening both the side, the elders as well as youngers. But today all you are people, you are the voice of the country, you are voice of the nation, and everybody is hearing your voice. Everybody is listening to your voice and also listening respectfully and also acting on it. And that is the power of youth. That is the power of Yuva. That is the power of young Indian. And maybe once you cross the young Indian stage, probably you have to listen to the new generation of young Indians. And that is where a very powerful body, young Indians, and you as a youth. So these powerful people, only people like us, we can, whatever the reservoir of knowledge available based on the experience and learning curve we can provide, and probably you can ignite and open the window, enter into the deeper way that you can do. And that is where I am building a context in the era of this disruptive world. Even new education policy is also a disruption. Look at the current education system. It has been totally bulldozed in the new education policy. New education policy is a total transformation. Once it is implemented, I am sure our country will be stand up in the crowd, and probably we may march towards Vishwaguru, which was the title given to India long, long ago. Probably NEP is aiming for that. So that is where, look at the current corporate world. In current corporate world, the contexts are changing very often because of the advancement of the digital technology. Now context is changing. The moment context change, then your skill sets are not going to be, existing skill sets are not going to applicable. Your products are going to obsolete. Your thinking, whatever you used to work, that practice is not going to be applicable. The moment context changes, everything else in the workplace will change. It is like a river. If river change the path, then automatically everything else will change. So that is, we call it as a context. A context is changing very often. The new context, for example, look at the education sector. COVID, because of COVID, what was possible, that became impossible. Going to the campus and enjoying the campus life and studying day and night, all those kind of residential campuses, they have closed down now. This possible thing before COVID has become impossible. And the online, earlier it was called as a distance learning education. Now we beautifully call it as a online. And this online has become mainline. Otherwise, distance education was sideline. That sideline education has become online, and our mainline face-to-face has become offline. We call it as a offline. Look at the interesting thing. Before COVID, till 2019, a powerful way of education, channel of education has closed down. A new channel has started. That is online education. This is because of the COVID. This is because of the disruption. Now, new education policy is also similar kind of disruption in the current education system. I will come back a little later. But because of this kind of digital disruption, because technological changes are happening very often, a speed is very high. In front of our own eye, companies are disappearing and new companies are coming. Jobs are disappearing, new jobs are coming. It means we have to think ahead of the time. We have to not only think ahead of the time in the education sector, the moment students complete a professional course of management 2 year or engineering 4 year, by the time they graduate, they enter into the company which they never heard, which they never saw. And it doesn't have its own history. It has just started few days back. It is a new startup. Now, how to prepare the leaders to lead the unknown companies, unknown jobs. And that is a challenge for education industry. And now education sector has to train the students. Earlier, it was very easy to train mechanical, electrical, civil, service sector. All the jobs and factories were known, industries were known. Based on that, we used to teach how to do the job more efficiently and effectively, because those things were known and seen. Today, you have to prepare the students for the unknown jobs. You have to prepare the students not only for the unknown job for once, you have to prepare the students unknown jobs, many unknown jobs for their life. In lifetime, maybe in my time, once I joined the company, probably till the retirement, I used to work in the same company. In my case, it has not happened, but most of my colleagues, they are working last 30, 40 years in the same industry. And not only one generation, generation to generation, third, second, third, fourth generation, they used to work in Tata, Birla companies. But today, in one generation of 60 to 70 years, we change the company at least 7, 8 times or 8, 10 times. Not only we change the company, we also change the roles, we also change the jobs. It means every change in the job, every context will make your skill set irrelevant. Every change in the job, every change in the role demands new kinds of skill set. And that is how skilling, upskilling and reskilling has become a norm. Skilling, upskilling and reskilling has become a norm. It means learning, unlearning and relearning are the only ways to lead this total uncertain disruptive world. Now, how to learn, how to unlearn, how to relearn. But in learn and relearn is very easy to do. But how to unlearn is very important. Nobody teach you. You have to do on your own, which is very difficult. Unlearning is very difficult. But relearning and learning are very, very easy. You go to the college or institution like ours, you can learn. But unlearning, it all depends on one individual, and that is an important one. That unlearning you take you to a different kind of dimensions, and whether you want to be a winner and loser, it is decided by unlearning. Not only unlearning, you should also be very clear on 2 dimensions, that is the success and failures. The moment you call success, the moment you call failure, these two are 2 different poles, 2 different directions. That is what we think, but actually both are always together. Success will not come without failure, and failure is one of the important component and dimension for success. And that is where learn to fail and fail to learn mantra is extremely important. If you want to be successful, if you want to stand up in the crowd, if you want to lead ahead of the time, then you have to learn to fail and fail to learn. This is a very important dimension we have to practice. Now, how to learn all those things in the academic halls, in the colleges, in the higher education or different schools, that is the challenge. Not only today, jobs are uncertain. COVID, many companies have, for example, one of the company, 25,000 employees, they have removed because of the COVID. Now, this kind of news you are getting in the market. At the same time, many new jobs are available on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and IoT kind of things, or 3D printing kind of things, but we don't have expertise. So that is how to think ahead of time, how to think out of box, and how to see that whatever the kind of unknown job comes, how to handle it successfully. That kind of learning, that kind of teaching should happen in the education. And that is what our new education policy is all about, a disruption. That is why I use the word a disruption for good. It is a great disruption in the education industry in India. Since 1986 policy and 1968 policies, they were an incremental change, delta change kind of things. But this new education policy is total reform, total transformation, total disruption. It is not only disrupted the faculty member, disrupted the students, disrupted the college, it disrupted every dimension, every aspect of the education. And that is where once a new education policy is implemented in 10 to 15 years, 20, 30 years, so I am sure India will stand up in the crowd and probably entire world will look towards India for the education. I must tell you, I must remind you, we are sitting in a great state, Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is the one state, it has taught England how to conduct the education. I don't know whether you know it or not. Madras model of education, it was popular in UK. 1793 was the year UK, there was no proper education system. There was no systematic way of learning. One of the experts from UK came to India, and within India, he came to Chennai. In those days, it was Madras. And in Madras, he was taking around, he was just watching and observing silently, and he went to the Marina Beach. And Marina Beach, so many kids were sitting on the sand, and also one person teacher, a mentor, Acharya Guru, he was teaching. On the sand, they were writing and they were rubbing. He was teaching them and they were also writing and rubbing and writing and rubbing. This is how the teaching on sand, it is totally free of cost education. There is no slate required, there is no pencil required, pen, they were not there, but it was only on the sand bed. The learning teaching process was happening and focus was on learning, not on teaching. And that fellow, after observing entire thing, went back to UK, he polished and reformed, and then he called it as a Madras model, and the entire UK became a literate. United Kingdom became literate based on the foundation of Madras model. But unfortunately, we left our own legacy and we followed European model, slow poison model, and they adopted us, they became great. And we adopted them, we lost the foundation. We lost the traditional way of learning, and we went to mad about the English education, Western education, and we forgotten our own mother tongues. And because the expression, always it is great in our own mother tongues. And the kind of education available in India, we lost, and that is how we became mad about Western style of not only dresses, but education. And till today, it was going strongly. But recently, 2018, model curriculum for MBA was done. I was chairman of the model curriculum. First time, we said, whatever our Prime Minister very strongly recommends, local, vocal, and global, local Indian cases, our own cases, we know the companies, Tata, Birla, L&T, Murugappan, TVS, Saint Gobain, all these great companies are there. People should be taught how they became a successful entrepreneur. What are the qualities? What are the leadership? What are the management? What are the interpersonal relationship and how to leverage the potential, how to solve the conflict, how to build the consensus? All those kind of things based on these success stories of our own corporate leaders should be taught instead of depending upon the Harvard cases and European cases. And that is how we started. And new education policy is one of the greatest, I think, a document for now India to again march in its own way. And that is how the current corporate world, whatever the demands are there, requirements are there from the education sector, they are all going to be met by new education policy, that is NEP 2020. I will just briefly highlight few things which are relevant to the students. Number one, here onwards there are going to be three types of institutions: research universities, comprehensive teaching universities, and degree granting autonomous colleges like IIM Trichy. So these are the three types, and there are not going to be any affiliated colleges. They are all going to be disappear. They may convert any one of the three depending upon what kind of standard they meet as per the. Now, having said this, the most important in NEP was multidisciplinary approach. Now, multidisciplinary approach means basically a student, till now after 10th, we used to decide arts, commerce, science, and all kinds of branches. You see, when I completed my 10th, one of the person who was studying at Solapur in Maharashtra, he took over all the certificates and document, and I scored good in 10th, and he enrolled me in science. And when I went to Solapur, I was asking, because my interesting subject was social studies. That was history, geography, and civics was my pet subject. And when I went there, I asked, where is the subject? 1 week I attended the course, and I was not knowing the difference between arts, science, commerce at that time. You know, very small village, I went to Solapur, a district, first time such a city. And I was hunting that course, and after 1 week, I asked one of my senior, where is this course? He said, you scored well in 10th. So that is how you have been put in science. You are never going to study those courses. You see, that was the kind of education we went. I wanted to do that, but I could not because it was not available, but I was put in science. Now, today, you all people are younger generation in new education policy. Kids, those who are born 4 or 5 years back, they are all going to be getting the benefit of NEP 2020. Here, there is no arts, commerce, and science, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So, after the 3 plus 3, then students can decide science, students can take history or history plus biology, any kind of combination they can take, and still they can pursue their dream. Now, each and every student, today, what is happening? Parents have dream about their kids. They say you have to be engineer, you have to be a doctor, you have to be so and so. They will influence and they will force and will put them into that kind of stream. But that is not going to be true in new education policy. New education policy, even though wherever you put, whatever the stage, after the college you have been put something, you are still flexibility to enter into any kind of subject which you are interested. You can pursue your dream using the multidisciplinary approach. Apart from few number of courses, Janta courses or elective courses, and you can pursue your dream. And I was working in 2001. I joined BITS Pilani as a faculty. BITS Pilani, NEP, whatever it is talking about, that model is already existing. Birla Institute. A student joining biology, he can do all computer courses and he can get into a computer job. A student doing mathematics, he can get into computer science. A student doing mathematics, he can get into mechanical engineering. So all kind of flexibility is provided. You have to score well. So all those kind of flexibility, this model, a miniature of the NEP is already existing in BITS Pilani. And I was a faculty member, fortunate enough to go through the stage, and it is a most successful model and fabulous model. And also how to get connect with the industry, practice school for 55 days at the end of 2 years, and at the end of 4 years, beginning or end of the 4 years, 6 months you have to go to the industry and study, in professors are sitting in the industries. 125 industries connected with BITS Pilani. What I want to say is this model is tested, proven in BITS Pilani, which is declared as a Institute of Eminence by the Government of India, and fortunately I am part of the mentoring committee of that one. So what I want to say is this new NEP, it will change the mindset and personality of the people. And NEP talks about basically not to learn for getting the job. Till today, a teacher, students, professors, directors, and principals, everybody focus was how to place our students, and many times our focus was on placement, not on teaching, not on learning, and the focus was only on how to place everybody, and that was the barometer, that was the indicator to rank the institution. But today, in new education policy, a focus is not getting the job. Focus is on how to build a great human being. Education institution should build a great human being. Great human being means they have to learn to learn. They have to learn on their own. They have to learn from the peers. They have to learn from the teachers. Focus is on learning, not focus is on teaching. Some of the institutions focus is on teaching only. Whether students learn or not, it is immaterial. But in new education policy, central focus is on learning. And this focus and the central goal is how to build a great human being. Today, if you look at the education institution, the focus is on materialistic life. Materialistic life means only you are looking for the job, you are looking for the specific job, you are looking for the very a dream job, and then you are looking for the money, but the focus is not on overall development of the human being. Focus is not on overall development of the planet and people and the future generation. A new education policy is talking about materialistic point of view. We are moving towards human being, and from human being, ultimate goal is to move towards all being. So more human being to all being is the ultimate goal of the new national education policy. All being means not only we have to respect the human being on the planet, we have to respect the animals, insects, and every living being on the planet we have to respect. And that is where sustainable development goals of United Nations, they have given the target 2030, every nation have to achieve those goals. I am sure the way we are working, we are not going to achieve it, because education is a real problem, but we are not moving in that direction. But new national education policy talks about sustainable development goals. Focus is a central principle till now was on the stakeholders, till now on the students and industry in education. Because education focus is on students because they are joining the institution. Focus is on industry because they are hiring the students. That was the great focus on education. Even businesses focus was only on shareholders. In governance, focus was only on customers or consumers. But in new national education policy, the focus is a central principle of the new national education policy is people and planet first, profit at the end. People and planet first and profit at the end. The focus is on how to build a global citizenship. Not only a citizenship of the country, a focus has to be global citizenship. And not only global citizenship, the focus is on, instead of corporate social responsibility, focus is on global social responsibility. Instead of institutes social responsibility, focus is on global corporate responsibility. It means we have to build such a human being, not only take care of themselves, they take care of all others people, they take care of other living beings, take care of planet, and they also keep in mind all the resources on the planet, how many future generations can also use the way we are using the resources. Similar kind of benefits, many future generation also should gain. That is what the focus of new national education policy. It is all about building the human being and all being. And if once that focus, once that kind of education system through new education policy starts, automatically we create a human being. Education institution will create the students, those who are creating themselves. Now, it is very important point to be noted. Education institutions are building the students who can create themselves. You know, we are there to create ourselves. Like, you know, every different point of time, we come in different avatar, different roles, and different kind of jobs, different kind of leadership. You know that today leaders have changed, but leadership has not changed. Look at education sector, many sectors. Maybe directors will change, principals will change, vice chancellors will change, the system will remain same. So leaders have changed, but leadership has not changed. But new education policy focus is how to build a great leaders. That is why there is another component, building a teacher development. Teacher development, teacher education is another important component, so that they can meet, they can equip the students to needs. Not only today's needs, it is very easy to do, but unforeseen needs of the corporate world. And that is what a teacher training is also important component inbuilt in that. Apart from that, another important component in new national education policy is all about multiple entry and multiple exit. Now, this is the gift to the students. Multiple entry, multiple exit means after working, and again, vocational education is one of the inbuilt in education. The moment, whatever the level you study, you build a competency, you build a skill, and you are capable of doing something in the corporate world. The moment you decide to leave the college this year, 2021, I want to go and work in IBM, I want to go and work in Akshay Patra, I want to go and work in, say, Chennai Metro, then I can do so. After a year or so, again I want to continue my education, you can come back and continue. But when you come back with huge knowledge, huge exposure to the corporate world, a great learning curve. You come back to the school, not only you learn, you also teach the teachers. Because in this disruptive world, everybody is a perpetual learner. It is not only students are the learners, teachers are also great learners. Teachers are also continuously learning, otherwise they are going to be absolute. So that is where a perpetual learning has become an important component and phenomena in this new national education policy. Students, they come with working some industry sometime, they will again study 1 or 2 years, again they go back, again they work 1 or 2 years, they come back, and if they don't come back, they will get the certificate, first time, second time, they may get a diploma kind of thing, and once they come back and do, they will get their degree, whatever the degree they enroll. So this is the kind of gift, new education policy, and somebody may say that it is not practicable and they may lose the interest and all. I must tell all my young dear students, this kind of model is already exist in the Western world. It is successfully doing well, and it is tested and proven model. I am sure each one of you are going to take benefit, and it is going to help a lot. You will be more capable person while attending the classes, and you will be more capable when you go to the corporate world. This model is much better than the existing one. Rigidity is the stupidity, and today's model, lot of rigidity is there. But new education policy, lot of flexibility, and flexibility or agility, this is the only way you can lead the education industry, create a great hub. So that is how multiple entry and multiple exit is extremely important. If you get the job opportunity, go and join. For example, one student, after completion of 1 year of MBA, he got job. He got a good job in State Bank of India. Then in today's system, what he will do, he has to leave the course, he join the job, or he has to leave the job and complete the course. But in new national education policy, you can join the SBI and work 2 years, come back and complete your PG diploma or MBA, whatever it is. So that is a gift, and you all should take a benefit of it. Apart from that, National Research Foundation, it is a new kind of phenomena, because the job of the education institution is create a knowledge, disseminate the knowledge, and application of knowledge. Creation of knowledge, dissemination of knowledge, application of knowledge. All the three things should happen. First time in the history of Indian education and policy, this NEP 2020 has given a special chapter and special focus on National Research Foundation, and which is given to all public, private, all kinds of education institutions are going to get benefit to create a knowledge. All of you know that India is going to be a leader only when we are great in R&D. Research and development, if we don't do well, we are not going to take up the leadership position of the globe. To take the leadership position of the globe, we have to be best in research and development, and that is where National Research Foundation has been created in new education policy. It is totally a disruption and totally transformation in education industry. This is going to help us to take Indian education sector as a Vishwaguru at global level. Apart from that, the most important thing is a context. I told contexts are changing very, very often. The moment context changes, same kind of leadership doesn't work. What worked in the before COVID, that kind of leadership has not worked in COVID. And what worked in during COVID is not going to work out post-COVID. So along with the context, the leadership also changes. So contextual leadership, or it is also called as, future is fluid. Future workforce is also fluid. Why future workforce is fluid? Because our roles are changing, jobs are changing, maybe 10, 15 times we change the roles and jobs in our lifetime. Every time you do the skilling, reskilling, upskilling, learning, relearning, unlearning. So your roles are changing. That is why the way, if you take the water, put into the glass, it will take the shape of glass. If you take the water, put into the some kind of container, it will take the shape of container. Same way, workforce is going to change its skill set as and when required, depending upon the context. And that is where a workforce is also liquid workforce. Strategy, 20-year strategy is not going to work out. Only emergent strategy is going to work out. As and when context changes, you have to execute, you have to act on it. So a strategy is also fluid strategy. Future belongs to fluid, or future is fluid. Future workforce is fluid. Future strategy is fluid. And that is why future leadership is also fluid leadership, or it is a contextual leadership. It is nothing but firefighting. Future leadership fluid means it is a firefighting. And you know that in the world, somebody has did the analysis and they came out that in firefighting in the entire world, Indians are best in the world. 1 Indian is equal to 3 Japanese. You know that Japanese are considered as the best. But 1 Indian is equal to 3 Japanese when it comes to firefighting. But when such 2 Japanese come together, or let us say when 2 such Indians come together, performance of the Indians are half of the Japanese. When as an individual they do, their performance is 3 times of the Japanese. When 2 together come and do the work, their performance is half of the Japanese, because we are not good at the teamwork. We are not good at the team player, and that kind of team building is extremely important for Indians, and new education policy also talks about how to work in a team, how to create a synergy. 1 + 1 + 1 should not be 3, it should be 111, and that is a synergy, and that also focus is there. And contextual leadership is all about changes. Tsunami came in Tamil Nadu, tsunami came in Orissa or West Bengal. Within no time in Orissa and Tamil Nadu, tsunami has been restored. But Katrina happened they took 2 years to restore. In India, within no time, because Indians believe in context. Americans and Europeans believe in concept and models. Anything happened, they collect the data, put it to the BCG matrix, SWOT analysis, and this and that, do the analysis, and somebody will submit to somebody. And it will go to the different, irrespective of the context, they do the same analysis, same concept, and same model. But that concept and model is not applicable applicable in the new context, tsunami context, earthquake context, or some kind of COVID context, then no model, old model, 16th century, 17th century model and concepts are not applicable. Our sixth sense works. A decision making, so sixth sense works, and that is how Indians are extremely good in decision making in firefighting. Decision making when context changes. And that is how today, all over the world, all the leading companies who are creating a road and leading ahead of the time, such companies, whether you take Sundar Pichai, Google heading, whether you take Satya Nadella heading, or whether you take IBM, Indian is heading, whether you take even education industry, GMAT, Indian from Himachal is heading, Deloitte, who is a leader from Rohtak, Haryana is heading Deloitte. All these great companies are led by the Indians because they are good in sixth sense and decision making. They don't use the concept and models of the Western world which we teach in our higher education. They just use the sixth sense and they become a great sense maker. And that sixth sense and great sense making comes from our Indian traditional knowledge. Our Indian, whatever the, while when we were the kids, our grandparents used to teach Ramayana, Mahabharata, great king Cholas, Nayakas, Vijayanagar kings, or Shivaji, Chhatrasal, all the great kings of India, Chanakya Niti, all those history is very, very important things. If you learn such kind of history, kingdom and all Vedas, Puranas, Tirukural, a great source, a great knowledge source, any kind of situation, any situation solution is there in Tirukural. So out of this, we can build a sixth sense and we can be a great contextual leader and fluid leader. And that is where in Western world, Silicon Valley, all the companies are headed by Indians because of this sixth sense. Because this was gained when the child was growing and basically mentored by the grandparents and joint system. And today the joint, family is not there. Both are working, husband and wife, and kids are, given to the mates to take care. Now you can see that what kind of mentoring happens. And that is where the problem comes. And that is where the building of holistic humanism. Schools, a rigid system, and in house, nobody is there to, grow the students to the proper level. And that is where our old education, Gurukula system, old kind of joint system, grandparents raising the grandchildren, and schools teaching our Madras model kind of things. And also giving our own traditional, those who don't know the old, I can say Tamil, they can't read Tirukural. And Tirukural is a big, you can say gold is there, but you can't open the Tizori unless until you have a key. Key is nothing but we should learn old Tamil. But we all put our kids to the English medium schools, and kids will not study the local language, and we can't read, whether it is Sanskrit, whether it is Tamil, and then we depend on the Western education and we become follower of the Western world. To lead the world and to lead the nation, we have to learn our own mother tongues, and language like Tamil is one of the oldest language in the world. All of you know Sanskrit is the second oldest. This kind of knowledges give us an enormous wisdom, and even the job which is totally unknown, we can lead not only efficiently and effectively, but it can be a role model. And that is where today you take any industry, Indians are leading because of sixth sense. It is a God's gift. We are the contextual leaders, we are the fluid leaders, and any kind of job, I must tell you, we are capable of doing. Only putting in the right direction, raising the kids or students in the right direction, that guidance is required, and new education policy has provided that roadmap, that path it has provided. I am sure this is the gold standard, as I said, and this will definitely create a future leaders of India. They are not only going to lead the nation, but they are going to lead the world and lead the planet, lead the people, and preserve the planet for many, many generations of the future, and make India as a Vishwaguru. It is all in your hand. We have to change our mindset, and we have to Instead of thinking narrow, we have to think broad, and broad thinking, broad knowledge, and capturing the technology. But at the same time, you know, in Hindi it is said, "Jad se leke jag tak," our Prime Minister said, we should be connected with the roots, but our aim is always at the global level. We should never forget the Indian ethos. We should never forget the ethics, practicing ethos and ethics. I am sure we can take a golden era of Takshila and Nalanda once again in India, and India can be a capital of education hub for the entire globe. With this, I'll stop over here. Once again, I thank Ketanji, Yamini, and Pradeep, and Raj, everybody, all the organizers, all the key persons of the Young Indians, and thank you very much. Thanks a lot. If any questions, I'll take up.
Ketan, I just want to thank Dr. Bhimrai Maitri for covering a very, very wide spectrum of topics. I mean, I was expecting, you know, a deep diving into national education policy, but what you gave us is something which was very, very interesting from a, like you said, you know, in this fluid world, everybody is a learner. It's not necessary that the student who goes to school or college is the only learner. You know, all of us are learners, and I think I have taken some notes from what you have spoken, and I've also sent it out to Pradeep, so that some of those fine points should actually be read by everybody, all our viewers across the country. So I'm really, really happy that you know, Trichy chapter is able to bring you on board, and a really, really wonderful session. I think it's a brilliant session. Thank you once again.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Maitri. This is Kaveri Annamalai, co-chair YI Trichy. It was a very informative session. As Raj said, we were expecting a deep dive into the NEP 2020, but what you gave us was a lot of confidence that this is towards a bigger picture and a greater development of the student community. So, Doctor, just collating a few questions that we had got from the registrations from the students. Doctor, what would you highlight as the biggest advantage of this new policy from the student community?
Okay, students' perspective, this biggest benefit of new education policy is a student confidently, courageously pick up any job and successfully deliver. You see, it is important that you prepare such a product, it can work in a robust environment. Earlier, we used to prepare a chartered accountants for specific job, engineers for civil engineers, for construction, mechanical engineers dealing with the machines, and maybe particularly people from psychology background for a particular kind of assessment. But now this new education policy, it is a multidisciplinary approach. It is basically, you know, it is a kind of, you know, it is a T learning. T means you have to be specialist in one area, but you will also generalistic in many areas, so that you can pick up any kind of job as per your wish, as per your dream, and you can pursue, even though you might have studied based on your parents' pressure as an engineer or doctor. But if you want to go into the film industry, you can do successfully well. Or if you enter into something, a new kind of trade, you can do successfully. That is what the focus, and that is where a great human being and learning to learn. These are the two things out of new education policy, and whatever you think, you can create a roadmap and you can walk on it and you can get the successful outcome out of that. And that is the focus on new education policy. We are not preparing the students for a particular job. We are preparing the students for holistic human being and learning to learn, and unknown jobs can also be successfully led by them. And that is what the focus is all about. And that is where Indian ethos and ethics and certain principles, that is the focusing on a planet and people and how to, human being to all being. These are the certain central principles if you keep, then probably you are going to end up with many jobs and you have to choose. Because creating what kind of person you want to be, creating is in your hand, because what decision you make today, tomorrow you are going to be that kind of person. You are going to create yourself based on what decision you are going to make. And that is where a new education policy focusing on how to become a great decision maker, great human being, and holistic human being. And that automatically, job is not at all a problem. Probably many companies will be calling you, but you may be starting your own business as an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur. And that is how it is going to happen. And that is where our dream is India is going to be a Vishwaguru with this new education policy if it is successfully implemented, systematically implemented. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Every coin has two sides, Doctor. What do you think for the same policy is going to be the greatest challenge or like a disadvantage?
I must tell you, you take anything, there are advantages and disadvantages. You see, it is again advantages for somebody, disadvantages for somebody, and what it is all about, if glass, half glass is there, what we see. Half glass full and half glass empty. Where our focus is there. Half glass empty, if you look into that, probably we waste our time focusing on that, doing analysis, SWOT analysis, all those things. If you talk about COVID crisis, if you don't do anything, then you will end up with many problems. But in crisis, if you look at there is an opportunity to pursue, then probably you can be a different person, you can be a leader. For example, when the global warming was happening, everybody was worried about what will happen, water level will go, Sri Lanka will go down below the water, Netherlands will go, all kinds of discussions happening in the newspaper. But I was training Bharat Electronics Limited and they were also thinking what will happen. I said, this is a great opportunity, you should look at the solar business. Global warming means temperature increase there, then you can multiply your business, entering into diversifying your business into solar, and BL entered into solar and they did a great business. So in every crisis there are opportunities. So look at the opportunity and you have to focus like a laser focus. So focus means not for the sake of focusing, but it focus. And I must tell you the example of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Bill Gates' mother called Steve Jobs in her house, and she said over a dinner party, and both of them, she asked one question: you are a successful business people in the world, Bill Gates as well as Steve Jobs. She asked one question: what is the state of your success? Both of you, I am asking. And she also give a piece of paper. You write on that paper only one word: what is your secret of success? I tell you, within a minute, both of them wrote, and they handed over the pieces of paper to mother of Bill Gates, and she opened and shown both of them. And she also made both of them to sit away because they should not see each other. The moment the learners, students copying and all, they sat both the side and then they handed over the paper again, sat together. She shown both of them, and there was only one word both of them wrote, that is laser focus. Laser focus was the only one word they put, and that is how they succeeded. The moment you think of plan B, plan C, plan D, plan F, then we are nowhere. So laser focus is the only way. If you focus on half glass full, I think there is no looking back. If you look at what I can get, whatever the situation, that is why I said in firefighting or crisis, every crisis there is an opportunity. And that opportunity, how to encash, what kind of choices we make, we are creating ourselves accordingly. If you do the good choices, you will become a great person. If you make a wrong choices, you lose everything. And So that is all about, you have to see all the sides, but finally you are going to make a decision, and those choices will create you in future.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, Doctor. You were talking about the importance of laser focus, but there seems to be a little contradiction through this multidisciplinary approach when youngsters today are already having too much distractions and they are not able to decide what their core or focus should be. Will this multidisciplinary approach try to not deviate them from this point of focus?
I think multidisciplinary approach, what you are telling, they are distracted, I agree, because they don't do the degree and colleges on their own. It is not their decision, it is the parent decision. I have money, I have business, my son should be MBA, my son should do BCom, my daughter should do and so, but daughter interest is to direct the film, son's interest is to teach in a college. But parents, no, you can't be a teacher, you have to be a businessman, you have to do MBA, I will send you to here, Kellogg, here and there. So this is how they are to one or other kind of rigid education system, and they are distracted. I fully agree. Now, multidisciplinary approach, even though parents force them to go to whatever the college, whatever the degree, but any point of time, once they decide to change, they can change. That flexibility is built. Multidisciplinary means, I told a T approach. T means one area you are specialized, all other areas you are generalistic. You will be having a knowledge of all other areas, but one area you have a deep knowledge. That is called as a T learning. T means one area specialized and many areas you will be having knowledge. And that is where multidisciplinary. For example, today, look at the management education, and if you look at the earlier without management education, the kind of businesses were handled. What is the difference is, today we are focusing on purely a profit alone. But if you look at the old, focus was, you see, Tata was the first one to thought about CSR when CSR word was not coined. Jamshedpur was built. So, because the holistic development of the area, holistic development of the people, and also caring the planet and all being, that was the focus of, when you look at the study, the Jamshedji Tata, when you study the Larsen and Toubro, when you study all the great businesses in the country, their focus was not only profit and profit and profit. Cost you have to make a profit today, and in earlier days, profit was the last, and focus was on the living being and human being and the social development. And the entire Jamshedpur was built by Tata. A place was built by him. So it was the social development. The focus was on everywhere. But today, education focus is only to profit. It's connected. We are highly disconnected with our relatives, with unknown people through LinkedIn and social media and Facebook. You never met, but daily you talk to them through WhatsApp and all. But what about you, where your parents have come from, which place? We never visited, we never go. We don't want to go because you have to walk on a sun, and also there are no proper roads and all. So we are totally cut off from our own roots. That is where new education policy talks about root and focus. Local, vocal, and global. And that is where what you are talking, multidisciplinary approach is the gift to the students, because any point of time, if you decide to change, you want to change the path, then this education will provide you, and you will become still a great person, a great human being, a great businessman, or a great philanthropist you can become. And that is where the multidisciplinary approach provides. But till now, what used to happen, people used to, even though they studied something, they end up with something they do. But this education will act as a catalyst, a great person in a. For example, look at the Mahindra. The moment COVID came, Mahindra started producing ventilators for oxygen. It was not their business. They diversified. Similarly, a channel of face-to-face marketing went to the Amazon business. Many businesses, for example, tourism industry closed down totally till today. Now just started. But what about Amazon kind of online business? Online transportation became an e-commerce, became a great business. So what I want to say that whenever you decide to change your channel, it is available. Countries like Singapore, there is an institute called Lifelong Learning Institution. Every time people go and learn and change their job, and the chartered accountant will become a ERP expert, and ERP expert will become a professor. So all those kinds of changes, whatever you want in your lifetime, because in one life of 70 to 80 years, you have to do 7, 8, 10 kind of skill set because it is a liquid. So that is where the multidisciplinary approach of new education policy is going to give a great benefit to the student. And I don't think any disadvantages. Those who don't want, still you can go into specific area that they are available. I want to do civil engineering, you can do. But somebody wants to combine civil, electrical, mechanical, and electronics. It means whatever the current system, still you can do. But if you want to enter into multidisciplinary, you can get into. You see, in earlier days, liberal art, in all kinds of skill sets and life skills, all those things, liberal art was taught outside the school. In parenting, it used to happen in houses. Today it is not happening because LKG starts at the age of 3. But earlier up to 5th, 6th standard, running, walking and playing, all those kind of things. Today, liberal art dance well with the management. Management education without liberal art is incomplete. And that is where our focus, only profit. So if we include all those multidisciplinary approach, then probably we look very kindly, with humility, with great women to the entire world, people, other people, and that is how we can build a beautiful world and beautiful business. Nobody will suffer, everybody will be happy, and that happy leading life, this new education policy is important, not only money. Today focus is only on money, all of you agree with me.
So what would you advise for the student community who are mostly our participants today? What is the skill sets or the mindsets they have to develop to accept this new system?
Yeah, they have to change the mindset. Number one, they have to change the mindset. Now skills will be keep on changing. That is why I said liquid workforce. As and when time comes, they have to unlearn the old, they have to learn the new, and again new, many times, many skills they have to learn. But the focus has to be how to create, how many avatar I want to appear. Avatar means, we see Shiva has many avatar, or Krishna has many avatar. So we as an individual ideas, how many way we want to create ourselves, and accordingly we have to build our skill set. Suppose I am a teacher now, I want to start my own business after 5 years. Then I have to develop a different kind of skill set. I am a teacher now, I want to a CEO of some company, then probably I have to build a different type of leadership skills. Young students, those who want to get into startup, they have to enter into different kind of skill set. A student, those who want to get a dream job, a person who wants to work in NGO, different kind of skill set. A person who wants to enter into family-owned business, different skill set are required. A person who wants to work in R&D, I want to create a new product, I want to, a flying car, I want to build or something like that, which is unknown thing to the surface, uncover. So such person skill sets are required. It is all about individual, whom to born is not in our, to lead, and from here, where to go, it is in our hand, and we have to decide. And probably you can take the help of others, but decision is your decision, and probably accordingly you have to develop the skill sets, and institutions are there to build those skill sets.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, in a country like India where people live in different strata, how much do you think this policy will have the ability of inclusiveness?
I think, for example, even though today, if you see that COVID last 5-6 months, online education has become common. Even villages, the connectivity, there is a digital divide, connectivity is concerned, but the government of India, our Prime Minister has come out with the Digital India program, through Digital India program, probably in a year or two, entire India, internet will reach a smallest and remotest part of the country, thanks to the COVID and thanks to the scheme of Government of India. And because whenever the crisis comes, initially some kind of difficulties will be there, but after some time, automatically whatever the gap is there, that can be closed, and automatically people will get into that, and we will become strong and we will become better. So that is where, for example, I have come from a very small village of 2 population. Until today in my village, if you want to know, there is no hospital, no internet, no bank, and also 2 buses comes in a day. That's all. So that is the kind of place I have come. It is a in rainy season also there is no rain. It is a permanent drought hit area, and there is a water supply from the vehicle happens to that place. So such a place. No, we have very unique and very hardship you can find in villages. It is true for in every state, but still, if there is a passion, there is a will, and there is a right direction, right environment is created, they will be a great leader. Take example of Trichy Tanjavur belt, Ram Dorai, Nataraj Chandrasekhar, Gopal Swami, Krishnamurti ji, who built Maruti Suzuki Steel Authority of India, BHL Trichy, Abdul Kalam, Venkat probably 2-3 hours to tell. Everybody from this belt, this environment, this kind of environment where it is a great education hub, Trichy is called as a spiritual and education capital of India. From here, that environment makes you to create. You are known by your company, such a great place. And automatically the environment, the mindset change, everything happens, and they all became great. If you look at Tata company, whether it is a Tata Steel, whether it is a TCS, whether it is a Tata Sons, everywhere people from Trichy are there. Trichy Tanjavur belt are there. People from Tamil Nadu are there. Look at the Singapore NTU, a great university. A president is from Tamil Nadu. Look at Singapore Management University. A dean is from Tamil Nadu, Chennai. So, if you look at, probably, there are so many names in Silicon Valley and America. They are all from here because Tamil Nadu is #1 in India as a leading state as far as education. We are the leader in the education. I conducted the 30 with the chancellor, the governor of Tamil Nadu, OT. We conducted the workshop 18-19 December, and we were discussing gross enrollment ratio in new education policy. They say that currently India has about 26% gross enrollment ratio, close to 26. And in new education policy, they mentioned it has to be, the average has to go to 50%. Now, you may be happy to know that Tamil Nadu is the state, we are already 48% gross enrollment ratio. We are much ahead of the entire country. Tamil Nadu already, whatever NEP means, it is in 30-40 years we have to reach 50%, they say, but we are already 48. Now, it is not challenge for Tamil Nadu. When Vice Chancellor's conference was there, we decided we should not take a state, the centers, whatever the target is there as our target, because it is walk cake. Easily you can achieve it. Our target has to be 75%. We should be always ahead in the curve. We should be always #1. A great leader of this state, Madurai Kamraji, who was the one sown the seed of education here, and that is going great, and it is going #1. And this #1 position maintaining is always in our hand. And this is because of the kind of environment created, the kind of mindset created. This environment, hands of education institutions, academic leaders, and young Indian kind of organization, CI kind of organization, we all create a condition. I'm sure our students will become automatically great leaders, irrespective of whatever the hardship. Working Chennai Port Trust, but he got the ticket to go to London, and he did, and you know, whatever his literature in handwritten, I think in London they say that more than 100, 200 people did PhD on his handwritten literature. A person from a great name in the country. C.V. Raman, Chandrasekhar, they are all from Trichy. So, born in a small, made a great mark because it is creating a passion and creating environment. So that creating environment earlier used to happen by the grandparents, and to happen young Indians and great mentors and great institutions, kind of environment if you create, I am sure, not only in India, but Asia also, we can be a great leader and country can be a great leader.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Finally, Doctor, one growing concern in most of the questions that I'm getting is, are our infrastructure and the ability of our teaching faculty prepared for this kind of education policy?
There is one big component on faculty teacher development. A very special focus has been given on teacher development and faculty development, and that is how, you know, it is not only the teacher also prepare themselves, and they are going to be a perpetual learners. Teachers are also going to be a students here onwards in new education policy. There is no static need, static knowledge is required. Everybody has to learn, and not only learn, they have to broaden their horizon. And that is where teacher development, a special focus and huge money is kept to develop the teachers so that they can achieve the global standard and they can set the standard for the globe. And that is why that concern is going to disappear. That is where new education will take 15 to 20 years. It is 2030, most of the things will happen, and 2040 it is going to complete. So that is where this is not the concern. It is only steps are going to be taken place, and there are different kind of regulators, and they are going to take care of all those verticals. And that is why this concern is going to disappear very soon, because the academic leaders and teachers, the recruitment and training, all those things are part of the new education policy.
Thank you, Doctor. I think we are running out of time. There are a lot of questions that we have collated earlier, and now something coming up in the chat box also. But I think we have to wrap up. I think we got the crux of it from you, Doctor. What is the bigger focus or the bigger picture of this policy, that we have to be more focused on the planet and bigger growth than the profits which should come later, and the importance of unlearning, relearning, and learning. And you have given us the importance of unlearning, which is the most difficult part, and also the importance of contextual leadership. So we have to take responsibility as per the context, and today I think students are in the situation where they have to take greater responsibility for every choice that they make in their student career. So thank you so much, Doctor. It was a really eye-opener for us to think of this in a very different perspective. This program, we have a lot of chapters from different cities of India collaborate, like YI Bangalore, Chennai, Coimbatore, Madurai, Mumbai, Pune, Raipur, Salem, Thoothukudi, and Tirupur. We were able to reach a lot of students because all these chapters collaborated with us. A big thank you to all these chapters also. Now I would invite Shehner Lal, Yuva Chair Madurai, to officially give the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. And one more focus, it is Atmanirbhar Bharat, basically how to build oneself. That is also another focus in this particular policy. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of UR team, I like to thank the speaker, Mr. Bhimaraya Maitri, Director of IIM. A golden opportunity to be with you in this call. And I'd like to thank our National Chair, Mr. Dilip Krishna, and YA Chair, Southern Region, Tamil Nadu, Mr. Raj Bharat, for this opportunity. and Mr. Dilip sir keeps on encouraging us, and Mr. Raj Bharat sir always paving way for us, and our nodal officers of UA institutions, UA chairs and UA teams, partnering cities like Trichy, Bangalore, Chennai, Coimbatore, Mumbai, Madurai, Pune, Salem, Raipur, Tuticorin, Tirupur, and a special thanks to Trichy, Coimbatore, and Madurai and Jaipur, and as well as Indo chapters for who have got a lot of good number of registration, and all our UA students. Thank you very much, and we will meet you soon again.
Thank you, Mr. Shenar. Thank you, Raj Bharat and Dilip, for being with us throughout this program. I know many questions were there which were not taken in this session because of lack of time, because we had a lot of questions that came to us before the session, and we were trying to collate and trying to give the crux of it. Hope all of you had a good takeaway and an understanding on this. And once again, on behalf of UA chapter and YI Trichy, we thank you, Doctor, for making this an immensely valuable session for all the students and even for all of us. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.